Hey guys, and welcome back. So a trailer dropped for The Man in the High Castle Season 4 a couple of days ago, and there's a lot to talk about in that trailer, a lot to theorize on as well. So without further ado, let's check out that trailer first, preview it together, and then break it down bit for bit and piece for piece.
There are very few things in this world worth dying for. Those things do exist. But when there's something truly worth fighting for, you're gonna know it. Trust me. If the Nazis can be beaten in that world, they can be beaten in this one.
America is a rebel nation. Only an American can truly control it.
The Reich murdered our son.
These two empires that we fight for, they're little more than sandcastles. Only the tides are forever.
We are going to fight back. The Reich has built a portal to another universe. Millions of people are gonna die when your husband is in charge of it all.
You don't know my husband.
No, you don't know your husband. I've seen a lot of versions of my life. Each existence as real as the next.
This thing that we have been a part of, it has to stop.
I don't know how. Why did you come back?
To kill John Smith.
It ended when you said goodbye.
So there are very few things in this world worth dying for. Those things do exist, and if something is really worth fighting for, you're gonna know it. Trust me. That's pretty much the narration at the very beginning of this trailer. It seems to be part of a conversation that Julianna has with someone on the series, from the profile of that person sitting right in front of her as she finishes her statement. You know, the trust me part. You could tell, and to a great extent, that the person she's probably talking with happens to be none other than Thomas Smith. Now, from the previous trailer that released a couple of months ago, I think it was more like 4 months ago, we do know that Thomas Smith is going to be part of the upcoming season, that very world that Julianna traveled to at the very end of last season. Now, the thing about this other Thomas Smith, this Elseworld Thomas Smith, is that he's completely different. He's the kind of person who's going to be appalled by what he gets to find about this other world, the world Julianna comes from. And you can tell that Julianna is probably gonna forge a relationship with this kid. She's gonna have a connection with him. I mean, that was the case with Thomas Smith of the core reality of the series, so it's probably gonna happen again. She's gonna find the good in him, and she's gonna make sure that she ends up being some kind of a mentor to him. That's almost what she was to him on Season 2 of the series. But that also brings us to all the scenes that are included during that speech, during that narration at the very beginning of the trailer. You've got all kind of scenes from the past 3 seasons, but most though, if not all of them, are out of previous seasons. The first one of these looks like one of those scenes at the end of Season 2, right before Julianna ended up meeting up with Amundsen and then Trudy, but I believe it is possibly a scene from the other reality she is visiting. That bus just looks like it doesn't match anything that I've seen before in the series. It would as well make a lot of sense that she wants to protect that other reality that she travels to, or all those other realities where the Nazis never won the war. But right after that though, we get the John Smith scene out of the end of Season 2 when he saved the day, stopped the war, and took down Heutzmann in the process, like Nazi hero John Smith. It's also about something worth fighting for. I mean, John Smith might be the villain or one of the villains, but villain or not, in the end, what he did over there was to stop the bombing of San Francisco, so he was doing something for something worth fighting for. The scene out of Season 1 with Julianna watching the film that Joe Blake was after, that's all about the realization there are other realities. That's all about the realization that there's something out there that Trudy fought for, something worth fighting for. The realization that the possibility does exist that things in this world, the core reality of the series, could change, which is something that the trailer revolves around, which is also something that's totally worth fighting for. But in the same sense, you've got the blowing of the Kempeitai building close to the end of Season 2, again part of a fight where Frink is seeking change, fighting for something that's worth fighting for, Julianna crossing the border and requesting asylum from the Germans, ending up being party to the whole stopping of the war, something worth fighting for, the Reich's attempt at interdimensional travel out of Season 3, something that's worth fighting against because there's something on that other side that's totally worth fighting for, a scene with Frink out of Season 2, and we know the history of Frink over the past couple of seasons, the Japanese execution of, and if I remember correctly, rebels on Season 1. Once again, the oppression is worth fighting against and the people are worth fighting for. Julianna jumping out of the trunk and making a run for it out of the events of Season 2 to escape the grip of the resistance. Your life is always something that you think, you believe is worth fighting for. And finally, the destruction of the Statue of Liberty during the events of Season 3. So yeah, a perfect choice of scenes for that little speech at the very beginning of the trailer. But that, though, gets us to the following scene, and the following scene is all about an extension of that final scene of Season 3. You know, Julianna traveling interdimensionally, being shot by John Smith in the process, and when she travels, she ends up in that other universe, falling over her back as part of the momentum created by being shot by that bullet at the end of Season 2 at the hands of John Smith. Now, on the very first trailer to the upcoming season, we did see part of what goes down on that other side in that other reality. We do know that she does meet with the John Smith of that reality. She does meet with the Thomas Smith of that reality. But the very next conversation she's having, though, she's having in the core reality of the series. If the Nazis can be beaten in that other world, then they could be beaten in this one. Now, while we hear those words, we get a scene from the reality she visited as a product of her travels at the end of Season 2. She's visiting the Lincoln Memorial, something that must by now be destroyed in the core reality of the series, just like the Statue of Liberty was destroyed. Because ultimately the reason for the destruction of all of these things, all of these monuments, is all about, the loss of hope, the loss of identity, making sure that the people realize that there is no hope for them, no hope to win this war, like everything that resembles them is pretty much lost, and for good. But there's also a scene with Wyatt Price, and I'm almost certain it is from that other reality. Remember what Aronson told Julianna, people are different in different realities, some better, some worse, but in the end she's the only constant. There's also the fact that Wyatt from the core reality does not hit me at all as someone who would go for suicide. We finally got an angry John Smith from the core reality, followed by a quiet moment of desperation with Julianna, and then we jump to that very conversation that she's having over there. But America is a rebel nation, only an American can truly control it. The statement made by John Smith on this trailer is an indication of either one of two things or a combination of both. One, his never-ending search for power, and then a bit more power, and two, that part of him that's always trying to avoid the damage that would hit at home if someone else was to take over. We've also got multiple scenes that scream a war will break out, scenes with tanks and soldiers, and scenes with what is obviously the resistance with a lot of guns. We've got Helen Smith telling her husband the Reich murdered our son. And I've just gotta admit it here, yes, Helen Smith is a secondary supporting character to John Smith, but she's had a lot of development since Season 1, even more if you think about it than John Smith did. The man's always got his priorities straight. I mean, the Reich and his family, these were always the top two. They're kind of interchangeable at times, but always the top two. On the other hand, she was wife to the Obergruppenführer on season 1 and a Nazi loyalist on the same season, the woman scared for her kid but still a loyalist on season 2, the woman who blamed her husband for being the reason her kid was ill-fated, Smith's family had the gene, and then later on season 3, she was the woman scared for her 2 girls, and now the woman who knows who to blame and actually blames them, the Reich. But moving on, we got a moment where John picks up the photo of his son, remembering the child he lost, and then we have the doors closing in the face of Helen Smith. Very Godfather moment, by the way. It's right out of The Godfather Part 1, right when Diane Keaton's Kay Adams bought Michael's claims, he would go fully legit, only to see the mobs of the members of the family flowing in order to kiss the ring, Michael's ring, right before the doors to his office closes in her face. If this is actually inspired by that, then it is an indication there's probably no hope for John Smith. But there's also some kind of Japanese funeral, if I'm not mistaken there, followed by a conversation between Kido and Smith. These 2 empires that we fight for, they're little more than sand castles, only the tides are forever. The statement is a bit weird, but once again hints at one of 2 things or a combination of both. Yes, the statements here are very unclear. So 1, it is the talk of someone who knows power and knows he has it, and 2, it is a claim that they cannot be beaten easily, they got something they could fight for and got the power to fight for it. But no matter what they do, these empires are not going to last forever. Remember, what he says over there is they're a little bit more than sandcastles. Not a lot, not the tide itself, but just a little bit more than sandcastles. Next up though is we've got these 2 all-new characters, a woman and I believe her son. You're going to fight back. The 2 characters are going to be part of this all-new, all-African-American part of the Resistance, and this faction of the Resistance will be led by, or will include, the new character portrayed by only Supergirl's Martian Manhunter actor David Harewood. That scene also seems to be an extension of a scene where the same man is being beaten up by the Kempeitai soldiers in the presence of Inspector Kido. But yeah though, we get more confirmation that they are definitely Resistance. We get a scene with the 2 of them, the mother and the son, readying their guns. For what? Probably for the fight to come. But next up though is Julianna discussing how the Reich built a portal to another universe, how this will lead to the death of millions of people, and how John Smith is in charge of this major project. She's talking to Helen Smith, who still seems to have some hope for her husband, claiming Julianna does not really know him, but Julianna makes the perfect comeback there. No, you don't know your husband. So yeah, I think I might have been right earlier. This is the Kay Adams phase, falling for the I am good act of Michael Corleone that proves to be false going into The Godfather Part 2. But we also get a scene with a portal to that other universe. The scene is complemented by another scene later on where John Smith is walking towards that portal into it, indicating one of 4 things. 1, John Smith has lost all hope. His walk is not the walk of a very confident man, possibly because he's scared of the experience and possibly because he just wants to be reunited with his child once again, just crossing over for that one reason. 2, John Smith has secured his spot on the other side, sent someone in advance to clear his counterpart for whatever reason. 3, the scientists of the Reich have found a way to secure travel without the necessity of the counterpart on the other side being dead. And finally 4, he doesn't need to send anyone to kill anyone on the other side because he is traveling to a reality different than the one we see Julianna travel to on all these trailers, one without John Smith. Now, the next one over here is Julianna talking to Wyatt about seeing different versions of her own life, how each existence felt as real as the next one, a statement that will explain how much experience, how much knowledge she will have acquired at that point in the events of the season. We also get the scene from the first trailer, a wounded Julianna dropping on the street where the John and Thomas of that reality drive by. That is followed by a scene with the fighter jets in the sky and one with fighter Julianna, her head held high, probably an icon to and possibly leader of the Resistance in the core reality. There's another scene from what looks like the same Japanese funeral. The only person that we can spot over there happens to be Inspector Kido. We've got Julianna pointing a dagger at Wyatt, obviously one with a different hairdo and hair color, so probably one from another reality. We've got Helen Smith striking again. She's still worried for her girls. She's talking to John. This thing that we have been part of, it has to stop. To that, John Smith seems to respond, or possibly responds, because her statement and his statement are not necessarily out of the same scene. I don't know how. But if they are out of the same scene, then this is an indication that John Smith might have always wanted to revert back to the man that he used to be, but has completely lost his way down the road. He just does not know how. Now, amidst all of this Helen-John conversation, we get moments where the Resistance, they are full-on attacking and nothing will stop them. We get the moment out of the first release trailer for the upcoming season with John Smith from the alternate reality trying to calm Julianna down. The scene with the burning of all the films on the train, again, we got that one from another trailer, and it's all happening under the supervision of John Smith. And finally, we've got Helen in shock watching that film from the other reality. The one that John Smith was watching repeatedly on Season 3, the one where they're one big happy family, and Thomas Smith is still alive. But post this conversation as well, we've got multiple frames quite telling of what will happen on Season 4. The first is about 5 men walking away from the portal to the alternate reality, which means they are returning, which means the project has been quite the success. They're holding briefcases, so they've brought back information along with them. We got the Japanese crackdown on the Resistance as well, an officer beating a civilian. We got Wyatt shooting bullets, kicking ass and taking names. John Smith hugging Thomas like he hasn't seen him in a while, possibly meaning he will be successful in crossing over, that John Smith is our John Smith, and that once he crosses over, the first order of business on his list is gonna be meeting his son, or that version of his son. We've also got a worried Helen, Wyatt, and Julianna dancing, possibly celebrating a victory down the road, an explosion of some carrier, and finally Resistance Julianna aiming at someone or something, locked and loaded and ready to shoot. But the last thing on this trailer is someone asking Julianna about the reason that she came back from that alternate reality, and she makes it clear her core objective is to kill John Smith. Now, I believe she's gonna be that angry at him, that much in need to kill him, because she's gonna make her come back after the death of the alternate John Smith at the hands of the men that our John Smith is gonna send to kill him in order to reunite with his son, or well, the alternate version of his son. That moment, though, is followed by the final scene on this trailer, a moment that looks like it is a face-off between Julianna on one hand and John Smith on the other hand, amidst a lot of smoke. Possibly a dream sequence, probably a dream sequence actually, but also possibly the real deal, making it into a face-off amidst the literal fog of war. But that having been said, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this trailer, how much you're looking forward to watching the final season of the series, and don't forget to let me know if you liked the content of this video by dropping it a much appreciated like, subscribing to this channel, and make sure while you're at it as well to enable notifications in order to get updated whenever I upload a new video, publish a new community post, or start a new live stream. But until the next time that you tune in for another one of my videos, The Man in the High Castle, or otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and have a great day.